First of all, thank you again for taking the time to join us today. My first question for you is, can you introduce yourself, tell what people should know about you?
A few things. My name's Dan Wright. I'm running for mayor of Stockton. And what should you know about me? Well, number one, I'm an educator, a lifelong educator. Started teaching in 1983 at the American School in Managua, Nicaragua. Made my way through Texas, LA, wound up in Stockton in 93, excuse me, to do school administration. And I started as an assistant principal at Montezuma on the south side, Hamilton Middle School. Did a couple principal's jobs at Commodore Stockton Skills School and Harrison Elementary. And the rest of my career here was at the central office at the director, assistant superintendent, and acting superintendent level.
What made you want to run for mayor?
Well, I've been on the city council now. By the time I term out, I'll have been on the city council for 10 years, which is the max allowed under term limits. I actually was going to retire. And then I started thinking about who's going to be the next mayor. And Kevin at that time hadn't said that he was going to run for Congress at that time, but I also wasn't certain he was going to get reelected. What you have to know about Stockton is we haven't reelected a mayor this century. So we're about a quarter of the way through it. So Stockton is very fickle about its mayors. They want action, and they want it discernible within the first couple of years, because otherwise you're on a downhill slide. When Kevin decided to run for Congress, I decided, well, for sure, I'm in hard, and I think I should be the next mayor of Stockton. I think I've got the policy experience that others, to me, haven't shown.
And moving on to some of those issues now, for what is the top issue for you and why?
Top issue for me, it's always a 1A, 1B thing. For me, in all of the forums I've been telling people, corruption and incompetence has to be addressed here in Stockton. We have, and I bring us back to the fiasco at Stockton Unified with the IAQ air filters. There have been 3 investigations allegedly done regarding that particular piece of corruption. Almost $7 million spent on these air filters, less than half of them used. FBI, Attorney General, District Attorney, all at some point said they were conducting some kind of investigation. I fully expect at some time one or more of them is going to release a report. And I guess my question is, who do you want in office at the time that report is issued? People who are peripherally related to that particular piece of corruption itself, or somebody who has been calling it out for a long time and is ready to act on it.
And moving on to some of the issues that people see on the streets as well, the top concern for many people is crime, as I'm sure you're well aware. How would you use the somewhat limited authority of the mayor's office to make changes when it comes to crime?
Well, you have to use your access. Being mayor gives you one particular piece of access, and that is a very exclusive club. Mayor of Stockton is part of the Big City Mayors Coalition, and it's access to the governor that only 13 mayors have. And I promise you, I would use that to help drive policy at the state of California level that's going to address those issues. One of the biggest issues people have right now is retail theft. And I attended a meeting at the Chamber of Commerce a couple Fridays ago, and the manager of the Weberstown Mall told this horrible story about a clerk at Five Below who wasn't trying to stop somebody from walking out with shoplifted goods, but merely addressed the fact that she had noticed it. She said, "Hey, can I ring those up for you?" And the minute she addressed that person, 4 people jumped her, and she's not back to work yet. Okay, so we need to have some type of criminal reform. We passed Prop 47 for all the right reasons. Mass incarceration doesn't work, right? And Prop 47 was the state's and the people's, because it was voted upon by the people. It was the people's response to mass incarceration. But what we've seen is we've overswung on that. So we've got to revisit that and bring it back to the people and say, okay, let's create some new policies that address repeat offenders, which right now, they keep getting released. They're back out on the street. That's not good. In terms of Stockton, how we've addressed crime, we spend a lot of time, a lot of study on what level we had to get with our police so we could retain them here in Stockton. We reauthorized Measure A to make sure that was going to work. What I'm told by the higher ups in the Stockton Police Department is they anticipate that we're going to see a real rise in numbers by the end of 2025. 2024, I'm sorry, by the end of 2024. And so looking forward to that. Even better, by 2025, we should be up to that 425 officer number, which would be almost 100 more officers than we have in the streets now. We're at about 346 currently.
That's a segue to my next question. On the same page, police officers in the city have been stretched thin. Obviously, there's been a staffing shortage. How would you work with your council colleagues, with the city manager and the police unions to recruit more officers and make Stockton PD a place that officers want to work for?
Well, I think I've already talked about the financial incentives, and so we've got to get above the 50th percentile in what police officers are earning in Northern California. Once we're at that point, officers will remain here financially, for the financial reasons. The rest of it is all about the culture. Eric Jones was a great police chief, and it really, really concerned me when he retired because I was worried about the culture. But Stan McFadden has been an equally good police chief in regards to that issue. So he listens to his officers. They're part of the decision-making process in terms of how we fight crime here in Stockton. They can't do it all until we get those numbers up. And so if they can't do it all, we have to make sure they're focusing on the most important things, which are the violent crimes. And that's what people are most concerned about. Property crimes are right after that. And so if we add more police officers, you're going to see an immediate impact in two areas. You'll see it in property crimes, addressing those, and in traffic issues, because we haven't been able to spend the amount of time on that. But again, it comes down to the culture. How hard do they want to work? How do they feel supported? Okay, and that's all about your leadership. And I think Stan McFadden has been an outstanding chief, and he's been a good segue from Eric Jones.
And switching gears a little bit now to a different issue that a lot of people, that's top of mind for a lot of voters this election cycle, homelessness, a big issue in the city, across the state as well. As you're well aware, the city spends millions of dollars each year to try to address this. What do you think the city is not doing, or what would you like to change?
Well, what I'd like to do is kind of speed up the process. We've spent a lot of money on it. You're not seeing the fruits of that too quickly, but we're seeing a lot of affordable housing come online. Victory Gardens opened last year near the Veterans Hospital. That's a veterans-only housing for homeless veterans. And then we've got Calaveras Quarters, where the Motel 6 used to be on March Lane. That's going to be for people transitioning, young adults primarily, and people transitioning out of foster care who are very much at risk for homelessness. When Calaveras Quarters opens up, that's going to be another 87 apartments. So you may see 2 or 3 people, 4 people in those apartments sometimes. They're 2 bedrooms in some cases, 1 bedrooms in others. And then Grandview Village opened up last Wednesday. Another 87 apartments for low-income housing. Then there's the extra shelter beds. And the shelter beds are important because of the complexities of policing the homelessness issue. Right now, you cannot criminalize camping in public unless you have enough shelter beds to meet your needs under the point-in-time count. I helped do our point-in-time count, proud of that, earlier this month. Yeah, I think it was this month, or maybe right at the end of January. But there weren't too many of us there. It was only a couple of us elected, Paul Canepa and myself. But it's an important thing for me to do because it gives you a piece of what our people are dealing with. We did 2 census tracts, and we're able to see what the real living conditions were. It's not right. I agree with Mayor Steinberg in Sacramento is the homeless have a right to housing. We have to find a way to house them, and that's either through shelter, transitional housing, whatever it may be. But they have a right to it. But they also have a responsibility to take advantage of that housing. What we don't want is a situation where people are living in substandard conditions, in tents when the temperature gets down in the 30s or below. Okay, it's important that we're creating that option that everyone will have that spot. And we've got a number of projects coming online. We've got the Pathways Project, St. Mary's, that's slowly developing. We're almost complete with the Navigation Center on the grounds of the Stockton Shelter for the Homeless. Okay, that's when that gets done. Having a navigation center here is imperative. Right now, if you're unhoused in Stockton, where do you go? You have to start knocking on doors. You go to St. Mary's, you go to the Stockton Shelter for the Homeless, you go to Gospel Center Rescue Mission, you go to the Women's Center. You know, where do you go? And now we'll have that one stop. You know, you go to a navigation center, and we'll work with what your needs are. We'll get you on a waiting list if need be for more secure housing. Maybe one of those tiny homes at the Pathways Project. I think those will remain filled constantly because you're going to get all 4 Ps: the privacy, the pets, the partners, and the possessions. You're going to be able to have all of that with you.
And a lot of candidates, you know, they sometimes will lean towards housing first or shelter first. It's kind of, you know, the term, if you will, that's out there.
The answer is yes. Both. Yes, and. What are we doing? Just don't say we're done. We're not. We have to keep looking for solutions. Housing first is a goal. But if housing first isn't working, then by all means, let's use every option we have. But shelters are important. Housing is the desire, because that way you can have that wraparound support on the grounds with you there. But some of those projects I talked to you about, Calaveras Quarters, the building Sonora Square that opened up a couple months ago, both of those are going to have wraparound support right there on the site, 24 hours. And that's the important thing, because we know that a lot of our unhoused have issues with substance abuse and with mental health. Now, here's the question. Are they homeless because of substance abuse or mental health, or do they have substance abuse or mental health problems because they're homeless? No one can answer that question unless you talk to them and work with them and help them live their life. But hopefully that's going to mean getting the medication and the support they need to survive and function in society.
Gotcha. Well, and switching gears just a little bit now, you might be aware of this. Back in 2023, the city conducted a survey, found that 70% of people felt an excellent or fair quality of life here in Stockton. That 70%, is that number okay to you? And if not, how would you go about, or how do you think that could be changed?
No, it's not okay. Obviously, we would want that number to be somewhere close to 100%. You know, it's too low. Okay, how do you go about addressing it? Well, data is important. You know, so that's one of the things I'm proud of with our current city manager, Harry Black, is his focus on data. Okay, we're collecting data from our community all the time, and we're using that to provide the services that people want. Now, can we please 100% of the people? That's never going to happen. Okay, should we be trying to please 100% of the people? Absolutely. And part of that is access to their government. Okay. One of the things I've done is the public has had access to me. I've conducted over 100 community office hours. I've done more town halls than any other council member or mayor in the last 10 years. Okay, I'm out there listening to the public, especially when we have homicides, violent crimes affecting people in areas where you wouldn't expect it. The last town hall I held was regarding the Unity Park shootings near Chavez High School, and took a lot of heat at that town hall. People were coming at us, but you know what? That was a healing process for people in that community, and smart electeds will know that that's something you have to let the people have. You have to let them have their voice, and you have to let them heal when something bad happens.
And we've talked about a lot of issues here: homelessness, crime, quality of life, and more. What would your top priorities be as mayor?
Well, the big three, I talked already about, I've actually talked about all three. I've talked about corruption and incompetence. I've talked about housing and homelessness, and I've talked about public safety. The one piece about public safety that I didn't talk about was, providing, and I really, actually, I'm sorry, I actually did talk about the culture part, and that's a significant significant thing. Providing police officers not only with the culture they want, but also with the resources they need: radios, police cars, top level equipment, because what they're doing is some of the hardest work in Northern California.
And I want to also go back to just a couple questions ago. You mentioned you've had a lot of town halls, kind of community input sessions. You're a busy person. You also serve on several boards. Is being mayor something that you have time for, and would you make any changes to kind of accommodate that?
Well, obviously, changes will have to occur. I'm going to have to do some mentoring of other council members for them to take on some of my policy roles. But I will say it was absolutely important that I filled those roles on those committees, because that's where I learned the policy. My roles, especially at the state level with the League of California Cities, I'm on their state board. I was their housing committee chair, and now I'm on their public safety policy committee. Okay, so how do you learn policy? You wrap up your sleeves and you throw yourself into it, and you learn what's going on everywhere, and you have to say what could work best here in Stockton. Then you listen to the people, you share with them what you know about policy, and that's how you come to the solutions that a city needs.
And final question: why should people vote for you?
I've looked at the candidates. They're all good people. There are reasons to vote for every single one of us. I think the reason you need to vote for Dan Wright for mayor is I'm the guy that's put in the work to prepare himself for this role. I've got the connections to help us lead the city in its recovery. Everyone thinks we're out of bankruptcy, and we are officially out of bankruptcy, but we're not a rich city. We're a financially healthy city, but we're not a rich city. So people go, well, I thought we were out of bankruptcy. Yes, but there were some repercussions from bankruptcy. I've been arguing with people about our reserves here in Stockton. Reserves are one-time dollars. Once those reserves are gone, we're in trouble. And we still have a looming pension crisis to face. So it's important that we pay attention to our long-term financial needs. And I think I'm the guy that will be the most judicious in safeguarding that and making sure we don't go back into bankruptcy. That's why you should vote for Dan Wright.